Today, I want to talk about an important way that readers like you and me can support small publishers. And if you are watching this, then chances are you are already well aware that independent publishers, small presses, university presses are putting out some of the most exciting prose and poetry on the market today. And there are lots and lots and lots of ways to support these smaller publishers, including buying their books or checking them out from the library, reviewing them online, talking about them in person or on social media. If the publisher's a nonprofit, you can make a donation. But I want to talk about one opportunity in particular, an option to support small presses that admittedly has its pros and cons. And I'm talking about pre-ordering. Just in case you are here and somehow don't know what a pre-order is. A pre-order is when you purchase a book before its official publication date. So on or around its release date, the book arrives on your doorstep in the mail, or you go to your local bookstore and you pick up the book so that you have it in your hands pretty much right away when it's first published. The benefit to us, the readers, is pretty clear. We get to have a book in our hands right away, right when it's first published. But pre-orders are even more beneficial to the publishers and to the authors, especially when the publisher is on the smaller side. Pre-orders just have a bigger impact for small presses when compared to large corporate publishers. So personally, when I am looking at my budget for books and I'm thinking about possibly pre-ordering a book, I'm going to always prioritize a small press over a large press because I know my dollars will go further for a pre-order from a small press. But I know that pre-orders aren't a fiscal possibility for every reader. So if you stay to the end of the video, I have an opportunity for you to support pre-orders from small presses without spending a dime of your own money. So how exactly do pre-orders help and benefit small presses? So first of all, pre-orders provide important immediate financial support to a publisher, especially if you're pre-ordering from the publisher's website, because more of the purchase price will go directly to the publisher than if you're buying through a third party like a bookstore. But I personally also like to support my local bookstore. So I usually divide up my books that I'm purchasing between my local bookstore and directly from the publisher itself to help spread the love a little bit. Pre-orders also help determine the initial print run of a book. The publisher can get a sense of how many copies of the book they can expect to sell overall by looking at the number of pre-orders. So they can avoid spending too much or too little on an initial print run. And that's really important for small publishers in particular who have less wiggle room in their overall budget than a larger publisher would. Pre-orders also help boost a book's visibility and sales, which is also really important for small publishers who don't have as large of a marketing budget or a marketing team when compared to their larger corporate counterparts. And pre-orders can give books a better chance of having a bestseller status, which, to be perfectly honest, is not going to be the case or a possibility for the vast majority of books published from either small presses or large presses, but there's still a chance, right? And pre-orders help make that potentially possible. But there are also some big challenges for small presses when it comes to pre-orders. They often lack the resources to promote upcoming releases widely, so it's really hard for them to even get the word out about pre-orders at all. And it's also pretty tricky to try and convince readers to purchase a pre-ordered book. I think buyers who do tend to pre-order books are often purchasing books by maybe a big name author or a celebrity in order to make sure that they get that book in their hands right when it's released and they can join in the buzziness talk about that book. But those are the kind of books that are more often published by large corporate publishers and less often published by small presses. And a lot of readers, myself included, really like to check reviews on a book before putting down their hard-earned cash to purchase it. If you're buying a book that's a pre-order, there's just going to be fewer reviews out there for that book. So I think a lot of readers like to wait until maybe the book has been on the shelves for a little while so they can get a sense of whether that book is really a good pick for them and their reading style. But there aren't just challenges for publishers when it comes to pre-orders. There's also a lot of challenges for readers when it comes to pre-ordering books specifically from small publishers. And it all comes down to how hard it is sometimes to find upcoming releases for small publishers. And I know this from experience. It can take a lot of work to track these books down. Often they'll show up on websites like Kirkus and Publishers Weekly, and sometimes on like upcoming release lists from New York Times and NPR and LitHub and Book Riot and all those websites that put out like upcoming release lists, which are great. But those lists quite often have mostly big corporate publishers. There are a few smaller publishers represented, and it's often pretty impossible to find the really smallest publishers on those lists. Nope. No, I'm not. Can you keep the light off though, babe? You can hang out, but you have to be very quiet. Can you be quiet? Okay. Thanks. And then you also have to scroll through a big, long list of books and either be able to identify by name which publishers are the smaller publishers, or sometimes these lists don't even list the publishers up front. So you got to do a lot of clicking and searching, and you still got to be able to recognize that name. And all these large corporate publishers have so many imprints. Sometimes it's really hard to know whether you're looking at the name of an imprint or the name of a smaller publisher. So those lists can be time consuming to go through to look if you're really trying to identify some independent publishers. To add to your reading list for the upcoming season. Personally, I've actually gotten pretty good at identifying a book from an independent publisher from the cover alone. Sometimes you really can tell what's being published by a big publisher who are often following lots of trends. Smaller publishers sometimes have a very distinctive look and feel to their books. So it can be, once you have some practice, you can kind of identify books just by their cover, but you still got to click and verify. So it takes some time. There are also incredible websites like Forward Reviews and Independent Book Review and Small Press Distribution and Shelf Unbound that are dedicated to small and independent publishers, and those can be incredible resources when you're looking for books, specifically from small publishers. Can you go into another room? I want that guy there. He was looking over my video. But mostly I end up just combing through tons of websites of small publishers that I know and respect and looking for their upcoming releases directly on their website. A lot of them will list their forthcoming titles and have catalogs that you can browse through of what's coming up, but not all small publishers have catalogs on their websites. Not all small publishers list their forthcoming titles, and not all small publishers list their books in a way that's easy to sort by publication date. The best way I've found to find upcoming releases from small publishers is just to subscribe to their email newsletter. But not all small publishers have an email newsletter. But all of this makes a lot of sense because these are small organizations that are run by often a small handful of people or even one person who's managing all of these details. So you can't always expect to have all of these things available on their websites. That would just be unreasonable. So what I'm trying to say is I work super hard to try and find upcoming releases from small publishers, and it is so worth it. I am not complaining at all because I love it so much. It's probably like the hoarder side of me or the magpie part of my personality where I want to go to all of these shiny new publishers and collect a treasure trove of upcoming books. But I want to share that treasure trove because I know you love finding great new books to read as much as I do. So if I can do some of this work and share it with you, that would make me the happiest reader on the planet. But Sarah, you say, I can't afford to be spending all this money on pre-orders. Have you seen the price of gas? Have you seen the price of eggs? To that I say, I've got you, because I've been doing something other than just combing websites for new books to buy. I've been budgeting for new books to buy. So if you check out this video, I share 13 upcoming new releases for fall 2023, all from small and independent publishers, and you get to choose which ones I actually put my wallet down for. So you can support the book, support the author, support the publisher without spending a dime of your own money. I'll see you over there.